Good morning, friends, family, whoever else may be watching. It's actually a much colder morning than I expected, but I wanted to be outside because the weather, the sunshine really charges me, and I have something really exciting, really personal to share, and something that has been a major milestone for me, and that is that I have been off of medication, antidepressants for 8 months now, and that is huge. Not only that, but I've been through an Alaskan winter without them, and Alaskan winters are, I guess I'm back. Okay. Alaskan winters are bitterly cold and seemingly unrelentingly dark, but here it is springtime and I made it through. So I wanted to share a couple of my thoughts and experiences about how I was able to make that transition. The cool thing to me about having made it through an entire winter without antidepressants is that it means that the principles I've found are reliable and that they're sound, and I was able to rely on them over and over and over again for the last 8 months to be able to get me through without relying on medication to help stabilize my mood. So one of the major principles that I learned is, first of all, that I used to think that depression is a disease, which was an important first step for me, because if you don't believe that it is some kind of an ailment and you just believe it's just because there's something wrong with me, for whatever reason I can't get motivated, or there's something wrong with me and it's all in my head. That's not true. There really is something going on. But this is the shift that happened for me. It wasn't that depression was a disease. I've since learned that depression is a message. It's a message that something is off, and that when you dig a little deeper, you start learning what is off in your life, and that message points you to what needs to be healed, and then it sets you on this incredibly miraculous healing journey, and it's the best thing ever. So for me, it came in many forms. At first, it was addressing a lot of the physical issues, physical imbalances, and I'm not talking about hormone replacement therapy or hormone treatment or anything like that. A lot of mainstream medicine will say that it's a hormone imbalance, which of course there are hormone imbalances, but that isn't the core of what some of these issues are. Sorry, I had to switch hands because my hands are really cold. I didn't expect it to be this cold this morning. Anyway, and so what I found in first addressing the physical needs of my body were that there were some vitamins that were critically depleted, and as I started supplementing with some of those, I got my energy back. I just felt all around more stable, more able to handle mood swings, things like that. I addressed the chronic fatigue with both vitamins and just getting more rest, and that was monumental, a crucial step in my recovery. I also found out that my gut was out of balance. That's been a more recent thing, actually, more on the ending or on the latter side, more recent side of my journey. So finding the tools that could help me rebalance in that regard have been really crucial. So once I felt like I was more in a stable and more repleted physical state, then I started addressing the unhealthy thought patterns. And that was a journey, and it was ultimately even more impactful than addressing the physical needs. But the thing was that I wouldn't have been able to sustain those mental shifts had I not first laid the foundation to physically feel more stable. And so as I was able to support myself through physical repletion, then I was able to address those toxic thought patterns and sustain those gains. And then, as I felt brave enough to start sharing my stories personally with people that I trusted, but then more and more publicly as I started doing community presentations and sharing my story more freely, that's when I found my purpose. I started to do even more soul searching and deep digging in what was it that I was called to do and meant to do, and how these experiences had prepared me for that. And that brought so much more meaning. And there's one other message that I want to share, is that your pain, your suffering is not in vain. It can lead you to places that you never even thought were possible for you to get to, because sometimes we have such a low springboard. We feel like, man, how did things get so low? But then it provides the foundation and that jump to get higher than you ever thought. I had this realization at one point in my yard last summer, where I realized that if I had not been in such a critically depleted and emotionally unstable state, I would not have found the desire or the reason to dig deeper to find who I really was. To some extent, I mean, if I was living a comfortable lifestyle, I would have been content with where I was at and kind of coasting. So it really helped for me to find that greater purpose and meaning. And now I am grateful for this experience. Throughout all the pain and struggle, it really taught me some crucial life lessons. And now I'm in so much more of a place of strength and courage, hope, and have more tools to be able to help other people. So I wanted to share with you the 8 principles that I found throughout my journey that created this healing for me and that sustained me through the winter, and that I believe are truly foundational and repeatable for everyone else. And the first one is to know your enemy. And because when you start to learn more about what depression is, more about how our bodies work, all of these things, it teaches you the strategies that you need in order to defeat that enemy. It's like, studying the opposition, whether that's a basketball team or, a country. Okay, I'm back. Okay, so when you study your enemy, you learn the techniques that it takes to defeat them. You recognize the patterns that your enemy is using, and by enemy, I mean mental illness. It can be your friend for a time to teach you the lessons you need to learn, but eventually you'll need to move on when you learn how to defeat and battle back. So know your enemy is first, because learning through your own experience and studying provides the foundation for all the rest of the steps. The second one is to calm the stress response, because chronic stress is toxic to your body. And so by using simple techniques, that there's an infinite amount of ways, because everyone finds calm differently depending on their interests and their needs and all that stuff. So there's an infinite amount of tools to calm the stress response. And there are some basic ones that everyone can use, like breathing and doing mindfulness exercises, things like that. So calming the stress response is critical to getting to a place where you can start to address your real needs as well. The third step is to replenish your depleted body. I touched on this already, and what an incredible foundation that laid for the rest of my journey was finding out what your body is really depleted in and giving it back. And that will create so much healing. And it really does create a lot of the springboard to do more of the mental work. Because I will say, I did not have the mental capacity or mental stamina to address my thought patterns when I was chronically sleep deprived. It just wasn't going to happen. So when I first fixed the sleep deprivation, then I was able to really work through systematically and correct my thinking patterns, which really, really helped. Number 4 is to gather your support network. And when we feel connected, we feel more whole. So finding those people that you really connect with, that really trust, that you can truly open up and share your journey with, will provide a lot of help and healing. That support network can also include professionals, which I'll touch more on step number 7. But step number 5 is to incorporate movement. We've heard so many times how exercise is really a good tool to heal depression. I have a lot of thoughts about that, because the biggest barrier to people with depression and exercising is motivation and fatigue. So later on in my posts, as I do this series, I'm going to be addressing more of the tools to get through that. But movement is crucial to restoring yourself to vitality. Number 6 is to reset your brain. Like I was saying, those thought patterns are crucial, and by retraining your thoughts and resetting the way that your brain operates, it just really opens up a whole new world, and you're able to see just things differently. It changes your perspective. It changes the pathways that you go to be able to reduce and even eliminate triggers, and to know better how to face situations mentally, to face them in a calm manner instead of spiraling out of control. Number 7 is to get professional help. Like I said before, part of your support network can include, and probably will include, professional support. That can either be therapists or counselors, medical professionals, as well as mentors. And that was one thing that I realized, is that sometimes the medical world, actually a lot of the time, and I say that respectfully, but mainstream medical world does not have all the answers to treat mental illness, and that's one of the problems that we're in right now, that there are a lot of other avenues to find the tools that we need, and mentors can really help with that, to shift thinking patterns, to see new possibilities, other forms of treatment that can truly help to bring healing and address the real issues in our lives. So all forms of professional help can be critical and helpful in our journeys. Number 8 is the crowning and most important one, and that is to connect with your true identity and purpose. And this has been the best part for me, as having done all this work in the last 3 years leading up to this point. I know myself better than I never knew before, and to me, depression is the antithesis of knowing who you are, because you feel empty. You feel, well, you just don't know who you are anymore. You don't feel like you have anything to contribute, or that your life has any purpose on this earth anymore. And that is really sad, but it's really real for those people who are in it, and I used to be there. And so laying the foundation, using these steps to get to this ultimate place, is really where you want to get, where you rediscover yourself, you recognize yourself for who you truly are, your identity and divine purpose and mission in this life, and that you have something very valuable to offer the world. And that's what I want to support people in, is leading them through this process so that they can discover what it is that they have to be able to share with the world and to discover their purpose. Now, I am just really excited to share all these tools, and I have a page that I've created called Toolbox to Beat Depression. So if either you are the one who is really struggling and finding your way through this journey, or you know people who are, please add yourself to the group, recommend it to them so that they can learn the tools, you can learn the tools to be able to teach and be a support to other people. And I'll just keep posting, sharing everything that I can throughout this process. And hopefully it will be able to help other people to come out of the darkness and back into the light for them as well. So thanks for watching, and if you leave a comment, I'm open to any comments, and especially about which one of those steps you are most interested in learning about next. Even though there's 8, they build on each other, they're fluid, and they do build on each other to some extent, but they can also be addressed repeatedly over and over in different orders. So if there's one that stands out to you, then let me know and I can use it for my next post. But in the meantime, thanks for watching, and I hope that you can have a blessed, happy, and bright day today.